Hey gang, welcome to TurboTimes. I'm your host, Turbo. Looking forward to today's episode. It's the wrap up of a three-part series. Today we're going to have a fun topic, how crypto and politics have collided on a worldwide scale. So this one's going to be fun. First of all, thanks again for everybody who's tuning in. It hadn't been very many of you so far. That's going to change. So if you can, please do me a favor and share this with as many people as you can, especially going into the weekend. Hit the like button, comment on the video if you can. Without further ado, let's get started. Politics and crypto on a worldwide scale. So the very first thing, I've got to educate you on some terms and definitions, just two of those, and then give you a brief little history on currency, and then we'll get into exactly what's going on currently. So here we go. The first thing that we need to understand is the difference between a currency that's used as a system for trading goods and services that's based on something that has tangible and intrinsic value versus a fiat currency. So intrinsic, intangible value currency is something that you can hold in your hand. Like seashells have been used as a currency in the past, spices or beads, or throughout most of human history, it has been precious metals, mostly gold and sometimes silver. So that's tangible, intrinsic backed currencies. Well, they're not backed, they just are what they are. They have value because they are valuable. Versus fiat currencies. And the word fiat has an Italian root that means by force. So when it comes to the United States dollar, what that means is that you can use this piece of paper to settle your debts anywhere in the world, and it's backed by the full confidence and political clout and military might of the United States to settle all of your debts by force, if necessary. So that is a fiat currency versus intrinsic currencies, intrinsic valued currencies. Well, we are now currently on a fiat currency system. And by the way, as a side note, I won't get into that very much, but we've, as a civilization, as a world people, have studied that throughout history, no fiat currency, because we're not the first one to experiment around with it, has ever lasted very long at all. Most of them around 30 years before they fail. We're approaching our 50th year, and also, by the way, the currencies throughout the world that did convert to fiat were only sectionalized, meaning it was only one country or only one region. This time, we're on a worldwide fiat currency system. And how did we get there? Well, that brings us to the history lesson. So, post-World War II, in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, in 1944, that's easy to remember, 44 countries came together and they discussed what is now known as the Bretton Woods Convention. A bunch of very smart people coming out of the World War II wanted nation states and countries across the globe to be able to trade with one another. We already were doing so, but instead of having to lug heavy gold around, because we've decided as a human race that gold is the best store of value. You cannot destroy it. It's hard to create more, because the only way you can create more is by digging it up, and it's very expensive to do, so it holds its value and it works well. Problem is, yes, it's heavy, it takes a lot of security to move it. So we thought, man, wouldn't it be a whole lot easier if we had a piece of paper to settle debts with one another and trade on a global scale? So these 44 countries got together and came up with the idea that we would come up with one world reserve currency, and that currency would be the United States dollar. And it was very simple. It was kind of ingenious the way it worked. You, as another country, to include America, we would give you 35 US dollars in return for 1 ounce of gold. And we would physically hold the gold. So it was a gold-backed system. And it, amazingly, all the countries, well, 44 of them anyway, agreed to go forth with this idea. And it worked really well until, well, hang on. One of the great things about that was it kept everybody in check, you see. You couldn't spend more money than you had without incurring debt. And there's a problem with debt, and that is you have to pay interest on it. So eventually you have to pay the piper. So kind of kept the whole worldwide economics in check, and it worked great until 1977. President Nixon, and I'm staring at my notes here, sorry, and his administration, it was kind of following, it wasn't just the United States, but it was predominantly us. What happened was we started spending more money than we actually had in gold physically in the banks. And other countries they had a sneaking suspicion that that was going on. And the problem with that was their countries were tied to our currency, meant their economic stability was tied to the United States dollar. And if there were more dollars in circulation than there were gold in the vault, then it would devalue the ability of the dollar to hold its weight. So a lot of countries, essentially it created a run on the bank of the United States. Other countries, starting with France, said, you know what, we'd like to have our gold back. Here's $35 for every ounce of gold. And so they took tons of gold out of the United States, and it caused other countries to start requesting their gold too. Well, President Nixon knew that would be terrible for America and our economy, and looking out for our best interest. And oh, by the way, we got the biggest stick, so we could do it. We said no more converting US dollars to gold. You can't have your gold back. And it's only temporary, right? Well, as a lot of things in government, temporary turns into, well, that was in 1971, and nowadays, well, it's 50 years later, and we're still on a fiat system where, well, I just explained fiat to you, right? So there we are. Now fast forward to the year 2017, when you probably remember Bitcoin made major headlines because its price blew up so much. Even though Bitcoin has been around technically since late 2009, and it also had a big run up in 2013, but really on a worldwide scale is when the world started taking notice of what Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies were. Well, back in 1971, when America decided to quit converting dollars to US gold, in other words, we went off of the gold system and became a fiat system, a lot of other countries out there said, well, that's kind of unfair because America can just print more money anytime they need to, giving us an unfair advantage. And ever since then, a lot of countries have wanted to dethrone the United States dollar as the world's reserve currency. Maybe rightfully so. Mostly, though, communist countries and ones who oppose our political ideologies. The problem with that, of course, is there has not been a good alternative until 2017, when Bitcoin really came on the scene and people started taking notice. And basically, there was two thoughts on it. One was from countries that opposed America's way of governing and living and our ideology, mostly China, and they thought this was their chance to dethrone the US dollar. And so they thought also, as a government, as a very controlling state, if they were going to replace the United States dollar and have a new currency, then they wanted to be in charge of it. So they proactively jumped into cryptocurrencies, started to understand it, and went forth. And nowadays they've got their own central bank digital currency, and they are issuing it to their people with the hope that their own economy will be able to use it as well as the rest of the world. And it's starting to work. Well, in 2017, America went the other way with it, because this new currency, this digital currency, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, was directly threatening the United States dollar, and you just can't have that as a government. Because right now, if we need more money as a government, we just hit the print button. It's pretty doggone convenient. So that's why it's against the law to create your own currency. And in 2017, this government slapped a whole bunch of regulations and created new laws against the usage of cryptocurrencies. Well, because you can't turn off Bitcoin, you can't stop people from using it. Maybe you can to some degree within your own borders, but not outside of this country you can't. So the rest of the world pumped up the price of Bitcoin. They adopted it even quicker because America was trying to shut it down. America quickly realized that and slowed down on the regulations and decided, okay, we've got to take some time and really figure this thing out. Well, during this time, it was President Trump's administration, and he's pretty old school, and he, is thought to love America very much, and we're the #1 superpower, and we need to stay that way, both militarily as well as economically, and that there's just no way in Haiti that any currency, let alone some uncontrolled thing like Bitcoin, is going to overtake us. So it'll just simply go away. Well, he didn't do his homework, because Bitcoin cannot go away. Well, let's talk about that. Why not? What are the reasons Bitcoin can't go away? It's because it's accessible through the internet. As long as there is an internet connection, it's decentralized all over the entire globe, so no one entity or anything like that can control it or shut it off. It is deflationary, which is another great thing about Bitcoin. And let me explain that real quick. So deflationary means there's a limited supply. The supply can never go up. It can only decrease. And the way it decreases is when people purchase Bitcoin and then lose their private keys. Once you lose your private keys to Bitcoin, it's gone forever. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist, and the ones that have been lost are lost forever. It's thought that out of the 21 million, that we're already down to, between 2 and 3 million less than that, making the ones that do still exist worth even more. So it's decentralized. No government or political agenda has any say-so in it. It's deflationary. And because of those reasons, it's an incredible store of value. But so that's the two different directions that that worldwide governments went in 2017. Was the communist controlling states said this thing is real and it's happening and we're going to control it. They were wrong, they can't. And America said it's just going to go away, and they were wrong, it's not. So fast forward to 2020, and what's happening now is America has finally realized, hey, this thing's not going away, and the rest of the world is adapting it and adopting to it and adopting it as a way of trading value, of storing value. And because of that, we are losing our power as a world's reserve currency, which is bad because it's good for the rest of the world, but not good for us, because if we as a government, we as a nation state need more money, we simply hit the print button. Look at it right now. We are in a very bad financial state. So to fix that, we're just going to print another $2 million. I think Biden announced it today or yesterday. And we can do that. We have the ability to. But if there were a different world reserve currency that we didn't control, we can no longer do that. So it's not going to be good for us there. So America has decided, well, we haven't decided yet, and that's the issue. Right now, there is Bitcoin, which is completely decentralized. Nobody controls it. But there's another currency out there that has a lot of the same similarities as Bitcoin, but it is centralized and it is controlled, and it was created right here in this country, and it's called XRP. And worldwide, a lot of our allies have already started to adapt and use this, and the biggest thing is that central banks worldwide have started to use it. But then recently, right before the director of the SEC left office, he decided to slap a lawsuit on XRP, making it a security, and because it was an unregistered security, it could dethrone it as a possible new world reserve currency. So there's a major battle going on right now where China wants their own central bank digital currency to be the new thing, and other countries, especially allies of America, want this thing, XRP, to be the new go-to way of trading cross borders. Oh, and by the way, XRP, it works really well. It's lightning quick. It's very cheap. It takes a lot of the fees out of getting money across borders. So it works, and it's also green. It doesn't cost a whole lot to secure the system, unlike Bitcoin. Bitcoin, to secure its ledger, uses an incredible amount of electricity, which is not good for trying to secure Mother Earth, right? So all these factors are going on, and it's just going to be very interesting to see which one comes out on top. And it could be a whole lot more than just interesting. But no, that big battle is happening right now between a digital coin called XRP. There's a few others out there, but that's the one that's in the lead right now. Most of the world banks and central banks have already started to use it to trade money and services across borders quickly, efficiently, cheaply, and green. Then there's Bitcoin. It's definitely got the largest market cap. It's the most secure network. Everybody says, what happens if you hack it? You can't. Let me explain that real quick, just so that you know. It's pretty simple. The only way you can hack Bitcoin right now is one of two ways. If all of the servers on planet Earth go offline at the same time, well, that's highly unlikely. And then the second way is if you have a computer that's able to hack it, and what you would need to do that, it's thought at this time, is have a computer. It's called quantum computing. And all the big brains out there think that quantum computing is not going to be a viable reality for at least 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. And even if a quantum computer could hack the Bitcoin system, by then we'll have figured out how to use quantum computing to secure the Bitcoin ledger against itself. So Bitcoin is extremely secure. It's not going anywhere. But then again, there's other possibilities like sun flares or EMPs, something like that, to take out the worldwide internet infrastructure. I don't think that'll happen either. So Bitcoin is here to stay, and its price is only going up because it's deflationary. And then XRP is one of them, and then communist regimes like China and such, they're allied together to come up with their own central bank digital currencies that could potentially replace Bitcoin, the American dollar, or XRP. Who knows? What do you think is going to come out the winner here? That's all I got for today's crypto and politics collision. I know that was kind of quick and brief. Actually, I'm at 22 minutes now, so it did go a little longer than I wanted. But look, there's no updates on me. Still hanging out in New Orleans. It was a beautiful day. Had some good food, and that's all I've got. Since we ran long, I'm gonna end it right here. That's all I got. Thanks for watching, guys.